Welcome back. I have a cup of tea and I'm ready to answer some of your questions. A lot of you had such good questions. I'm really grateful for that. I really was overwhelmed by the response. It was quite touching in a way to get so many thoughtful questions. Some of your questions worked more as a broad topic, I think. So I am going to make some videos specifically about, here's the list, my disabilities. I will do that. Everyone wants to know about Mau Mau. She was here a moment ago before I started recording, but she ran off now. I will do a whole video about Mau Mau because her story is quite interesting. My identities and how I identify. Quite a few of you were very interested in this. I do want to talk about that. I think it would get very long. My tattoos, again, would be a very long video, and I think it's better to keep it as a whole video. Some of them have meaning, some of them don't. I have quite a few. So, and how I do my makeup. I may do a makeup tutorial video because I think it is interesting how disabled people do things like makeup and things. Okay. Loranda on Instagram asks, as a Philip K. Dick fan, I'm sure you have seen it, but the TV series of Man in the High Castle, ? I haven't seen it yet. I know they've been filming it in Vancouver because I saw, did I see images or did I see a filming? I can't remember. Anyway, I saw something to do with it and I had to look up what it was because I thought to myself, that's a new science fiction show, what the hell is that? And then I found out it was a Philip K. Dick show and I'm very excited. I am sad it is not of a better book or story, but I'm very interested. I mean, it's still a good book, it's just not one of my favorites, personally. There are so many of his books that would make amazing films or TV shows, especially if they were slightly updated, because obviously his stories are quite old now. I do want to see it, haven't seen it yet. I hope it comes on Netflix eventually, because that's the only real way I watch TV these days. I'm glad to hear it's good, because I was worried about that. Drea, I think I'm saying that right, I hope so, on YouTube, are you a Star Trek fan? Which series is your fave? And then I had a related question from Rin Lawrence on Star Trek. Okay, so my question is Star Wars or Star Trek or both? Are there any sci-fi shows that are pivotal for you? Okay, this could get long, so I'll try not to make it too long. But yes, I am a Star Trek fan. Yes, I also like Star Wars. Oh my god, people can like both together. What a mind. I was a huge Star Wars fan as a kid. Huge Star Wars fan. I rewatched those movies over and over and over until the tapes almost broke. But in my teenage years, late teenage years and early 20s when the prequels came out, it kind of broke my heart in a very real way, in a very fanny way. I don't hate the prequels, I think they're not good movies. I think they're bad movies, so it was kind of disappointing. And so I was really skeptical about the newest Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, and I was not really into it, and for a long time I haven't been a Star Wars fan, and I kind of rejected anything to do with Star Wars and didn't really want to hear about it. And then I saw the trailers, first of all the teaser obviously, and then the next trailers for The Force Awakens, and I was so excited. I was more excited than I've been for a long time. Actually, since the reboot of Star Trek. I was so excited that I booked tickets the day they were released for Vancouver Cineplex. We went to the very first one. I think it was at 9:30 a.m. or something, which is really early to go to the cinema. We still had popcorn. I was super excited. I didn't dress up, but I did wear very future-y clothing. I'll pop up a little picture right here. Yeah, there were Jedi sitting behind us, dressed in their Jedi robes. That was kind of fun. Ooh, that's a truck. I wonder if you can hear that. That was very loud. There were Jedi sitting behind us, and I loved the film so much. I loved it so much. I loved Rin, everything about Rin. I don't care what any of the haters say. I think they're all wrong, and I think The Force Awakens is an absolutely brilliant movie, and probably my favorite Star Trek movie. I cried. Yeah. It doesn't actually take much for me to cry, so that's not really a big deal, but yeah, I cried. Okay. Oh, Star Trek, right. Oh my goodness. Is this a 10-minute video about Star Trek and Star Wars now? Okay, so I've been a huge Star Trek fan since I was a kid. Again, I grew up with the original series and I did enjoy them, but I was never a huge fan until The Next Generation. And I loved Picard. I mean, who doesn't? I'm sure some people don't, but whatever. And there were some things about The Next Generation I really didn't like. In fact, this is the thing about Star Wars. This is the thing about Star Trek, is that I think it's very imperfect. It is definitely a flawed series. Every one of the series to do with Star Trek, I think it's always been that way since the beginning, and I think that's okay. There were things I loved about it, and I actually rewatched The Next Generation last year, and I think it was the first 2 seasons, were not good at all, really, but then it really hit its stride and it got really good and really gripping, and I loved it. Voyager is my absolute #1 top Star Trek favorite series. I love Captain Janeway. I love almost every character in Voyager, which is unusual for Star Trek, I think, for me. Yeah, I really love Voyager. I love the story, the fact that it's about them being lost in space and trying to get home. I think that was a magnificent basis for a Star Trek series. I think it really made it interesting and compelling and kind of emotional. I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion here, but I loved Enterprise. I adored it. I don't care how much it messes with the canon. I don't care how much everyone thinks it failed. I loved Enterprise. I loved everything about it. I loved that it was Sam from Quantum Leap. I loved the uniforms. The uniforms were brilliant. I loved that it was near future. I loved it. And I also loved the reboot of the J.J. Abrams reboot of Star Trek movies. And so I think that it works. I'm really excited about the next one. I just saw the trailer. Very excited. So many aliens, that's what I'm excited about. Okay, let's get on to another question, because I feel like I've been there was a part of the question I didn't answer. Any other sci-fi shows that were pivotal for me? Stargate. Stargate SG-1. It was my science fiction show for many years. It ran forever. Stargate SG-1 and Farscape when I was in my late teens, early 20s. Okay, next question. Maybe you're not interested in science fiction, you've already switched off. Slaughterhouse Fishies on YouTube, and they asked, you said you play video games, what games are your favorite? Okay, let's hope this isn't another long one, so I'm gonna try and keep it short. This could be an enormous topic on its own, and I haven't made a list, so I'm just gonna try and think off the top of my head. So my absolute favorite is the Mass Effect series. You may have seen me wearing some N7 gear here and there. I loved every game. I love how Bioware developed characters. I love the storylines that Bioware come up with. I'm a massive Bioware fan. I just fan Bioware everything. So yes, Dragon Age 2. I could go on forever. I love how they are kind of groundbreaking in certain ways. I love that Mass Effect is such a really good science fiction RPG. RPGs are my favorite, absolutely, always, to the end of time, always going to be RPGs, has been since I was a kid, and I grew up with Zelda and things, the JRPGs, things like that, and will be till the end of time. And I think Bioware do them the best these days, personally. You could say anything to me and I'll never say a bad thing about Bioware, unless they really screw something up, but I don't think they're going to. I really hope not, anyway. Yeah, so I love the Mass Effect series and Dragon Age. So these days I really enjoy any video game with a good storyline and interesting gameplay and that are trying different things. I really liked Destiny when it first came out, but as everyone knows, the story really fell short. I really felt like they relied too heavily on addictive gameplay mechanisms, and I played it a lot when it first came out, really played it a lot, but I was definitely addicted, which as soon as I realized that, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth and I stopped playing. So I love the aesthetics though. The aesthetics of Destiny were just perfect, so perfect. So I'm a bit sad that I stopped playing that and that it kind of didn't live up to my expectations, because I played the beta and was just so excited for it. Recently, Fallout 4, I really enjoyed that. I actually didn't get very far in any of the other Fallout games because I found them a little bit too tedious at the beginning and kind of a chore. And so something really has to grip me and pull me in, especially when I'm busy working, which at the time I was super busy, so it had to be really gripping. But Fallout 4 I really loved. I played all the way through. I still want to play the other endings, so we'll see if I go back to that. And then historically, I loved the Final Fantasy games. I was a huge Final Fantasy fan. I'm still super disappointed that most of the games they make now are MMOs because I'm not really an MMO person, and I will tell you why. And it's very personal, but it's because I have a very addictive personality and I get addicted to things like that very easily. So I really have to be careful about what I expose myself to, and MMOs is definitely one of them. I've definitely been addicted to them in the past, and so I don't play them anymore. But I'm really looking to, I think it's 15 that's coming up. I mostly play on consoles these days. I play on the PS4. I used to play on PC and things like that, but my disabilities have limited the time I can spend on a computer and kind of the controls, so consoles really help me out with that. They really allow me to still play, especially the controllers and the way they work and kind of the accessibility options on consoles now, which is becoming amazing. I'm excited to play Uncharted 4 because I've heard about the accessibility, so hopefully I'll play that soon. Okay, that's a quick-ish rundown of my absolute favorites. Like I said, I could go on forever. I could talk and talk and talk about all the games in the past that I've loved. I'm going to say one really quick one was what was it called? I think it was just called Journey to the West. That was like one standalone game that just blew me away. It was beautiful and perfect and fun, and it wasn't a true RPG, it was more like a hack and slash, but I loved it. So that gives you an idea of the kind of video games I like. There's obviously a much longer list. Ooh, let's try this. Wizcar Lifer, it's got 2 eyes, so on Instagram asks, what is the most rewarding thing in your life at the moment? I love this question. I think that's an excellent question. It's such a nice thing to get asked. I try to bring a lot of rewarding things into my life as much as I can, and right now, I'm gonna say YouTube. I never thought I would be able to do this. I wanted to do YouTube for 4 or 5 years. I've watched a lot of people kind of grow on YouTube and channels grow, and so I always wanted to do it, but I always thought I was too shy and introverted to do it. I have an intense anxiety and fear of phone calls and video calls and things like that, so I never thought I would be able to talk to a camera. But I spent a lot of time reading about it and kind of psyching myself up and telling myself I can do this, and I felt like it was important for me to do it. I feel like this is going to be a whole other topic for another video, so I don't want to go into that into too much detail in this one because this is going to be such a long video. But I really find it rewarding. I love that you all watch, and all these questions were amazing, and all the feedback and your 5 fun facts sharing with me. I think that was brilliant. I love the process of making the videos. It's really a good extension of my photography skills, and it really has given me a new lease of life for that, kind of recording and documenting things I see. I see a lot of details. I'm a very observant person. I always have been. It's just kind of part of who I am. It's not something I deliberately try to do. It just happens. I see a lot of things, and I love sharing that, and video has been an amazing way to kind of condense things and share that. It's just really has been rewarding. It's been a rewarding couple of months, and I can't wait to keep doing it. So thanks for that question, and thanks for watching, because that is a big part of it. I mean, I could just keep making these for myself, but the fact that people want to watch them and are enjoying them, that is something I never expected. So yeah. Zen Mama on YouTube asks, any tips for rediscovering identity and purpose after a career change / life change was required? This is a tough one, but I just wanted to include it because I think it was a big part of my life experience of the last few years, of coming to terms with my progressive disabilities, of realizing that I have progressive disabilities, and that what I was experiencing as a decline in physical abilities was not normal. Coming to terms with that, and I struggled. I really struggled with it for a good 4 years. And there were times where I'm gonna be honest and say that it kind of swallowed me. And I spent a lot of time. I didn't expect to get quite so deep with this, but I spent a lot of time lost and not sure what to do with myself and not sure how to cope with being in so much pain and not losing my ability to walk. That was progressive, and it happened over a number of years, but then it suddenly got much worse. That was a hard thing to come to terms with, and it still is. I'm gonna say that I'm always going to be coming to terms with this, and the whole process is a grieving process, and I think that's important to make clear, is that if you have a progressive condition, that the grieving process is ongoing forever, and maybe it is even if it's not progressive. Obviously I can only speak for my personal experience, but it's grief, and I think once I realized that it was grief, that's when it became slowly easier to deal with, because I'm not saying go out and deal with it like normal grief for a loss of a person or an animal or that kind of grief, but if you can realize in yourself your own grief and what that means, I think that gives you a starting point, and that's really where I started to come to terms with things. And I don't think I ever will completely ever come to terms with things. I think that's part of the process, and I think that's okay. I think it's okay to admit that, and I think it's okay to live with that ongoing grieving process and give yourself space for that. I just want to tell you that it's okay to give yourself space and time to grieve. And that's an important part of the process. Next up, we have a question from Lilan on YouTube, and that is, what are your feelings on succulents? They're different than mosses and lichen, obviously, but I have the cute little ecosystem of their own feels about succulents. I agree. I think they're amazing. I don't actually know very much about them. I should probably spend some time reading about that, and I think I will. I think that'll be an interesting pursuit, is to read up on succulents. This was a gift. I'm showing you this because I am a horrible plant friend, absolute miserable plant friend. I'm terrible at looking after plants. I forget to water them. I don't know anything about what kind of light is best for them. I try to read up on it and remember these things, but it's really hard. I've killed a lot of plants in my life. My dad had the greenest thumb. He was amazing with plants. He had this bonsai tree that he really kind of brought into its own life. He kept this beautiful garden. I'm sure he still does. And sorry, my brain's off on a tangent about my family now, but I'm not going to go into that. So I should have those genes, but I guess they skipped me and I didn't get them. But this was a gift, and I love it. It's a little kind of rock with a hole in it, and as you can see, I killed this one already. My cat ate half of this one, and this one I think is pretty hardy, so that's going to be alright forever. And this little friend that I love to stroke and kind of smush, this friend's been on a cycle. This friend comes and wanes and goes, and yeah, right now he's coming back a little bit, I think. It's going a bit red, which I don't know if it's supposed to, but you can see it's also growing an offshoot, which I also don't know if it's supposed to. Sometimes I don't water it enough. Thankfully succulents don't need that much water, but I still forget. I'm really bad plant friend. And then I don't actually know if air plants are succulents, but my friend gave me this jellyfish air plant from another friend's mum's florist, and I actually found out that it's part of a miniature pineapple plant, which is so cool. So as you can see, it is an air plant inside here, and the great thing about air plants is that they are quite easy to look after. This one I think I burned a bit in the sun, which is a bit of a shame, but all you have to do is spritz it and occasionally soak it in water, so I've actually done okay with that one. Ooh, I have a splinter from the other friend. That's the first time that's happened. It does not like being stroked. So yes, I love succulents. If I had a garden, I think I would like a nice grassy area and then a rocky area with succulents. And I think that would be possible in Vancouver because we are a very temperate climate, and also it gets very hot here in the summer, so I think it would be good for them. So I should probably end this here. I hope that answers all your questions. I will love to do these again in the future if you enjoyed asking questions and getting the answers. I think you asked some amazing questions, so let's do it again in, I don't know, a couple months. That would be fun. Soon you will see coming up my videos from my recent trip, so that will be good. My vlogs from that trip. And now I'm stumped on how to end this video because I've been talking so long. I've got a really sore throat. I have not talked to many people in the last few days. Let's end this. Let's stop talking. Once I get talking, I don't know how to stop. It's very strange. Thanks for watching this Q&A, and thanks so much for all the questions. I was really impressed with all your questions and really touched that you wanted to know so much about me and what I do and things like that. So thank you. Definitely subscribe if you want to see my upcoming videos and if you're new to my channel. If you are new to my channel, I'm Cherry. I don't know why I left that to the end. Maybe I said it at the beginning, who knows. Leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed these question and answers. We'll do it again sometime soon. Keep leaving thumbs up and then I'll know that it's something you want to see and something you want to keep coming back to. Leave a comment below if you have any response to any of the things I've said, or if you have any follow-up questions. I'll do my best to answer. And let's do this again sometime. Thanks for watching. Bye!